Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today, instead of covering our normal worms, we're going to cover the inputs into the worm bin. So we're going to cover the food and the bedding material and things like that. So the question is should you chop it up? Should you freeze it? What should you do with your food? And then what kind of bedding should you use? And what should you do with it before you put it in your bins? So let's go and take a look at what I have here, and we can talk about what you should probably do to set up your food and your process to put food into the worm bin. So let's take a look here at what I've got. All right, I have a whole bunch of different bedding materials here that we're going to go through. So the first thing is let's go to the lower one here. We have our standard cardboard. Now this is just a regular piece of cardboard. I just happen to cut it up. I'd recommend cutting it into smaller squares if you're just going to use cardboard. I run mine through a shredder. As you can see here, it's nicely ground up. It's very easy to use. It kind of can compress down in that way, but it really does work a little bit better. If not, I would still recommend like inch squares. I wouldn't just throw in a piece of cardboard, although you can. You can take this, you can slowly fold it in and roll it up into a ball, and you can throw that in your bin. It will break down slowly. It'll take more time than if you have this finely chewed up material here, but it will work. So that's our first thing. This is what I use in almost all of my bins exclusively, except for, what I'm going to show you here in a minute. So I primarily, as I said, use the cardboard and paper. By the way, there is white paper in here as well. I'm sure you can see. That's actually a white office paper. It does break down as well, but it does take longer than the cardboard. The next thing I'm going to show you here is what I know a lot of people do use, and that is coconut coir. This right here happens to be from Walmart. I know you can buy it on Amazon. I know you can buy it in a lot of other places. It really holds moisture well. It really does a great job. This expands, by the way. This is only, this shows here at the bottom, 0.33 cubic feet. This expands to like almost a 5-gallon container. I mean, this brick looks pretty big, but you throw this in a 5-gallon container, it doesn't look all that big, and it expands to fill it. It really is amazing how much moisture this can retain. It can last a while. And it's already broken down into fine little pieces. Unfortunately, I don't have any open to show you, but it works really well. But these are, I think it's like $5 to $7 for one of these bricks. And they will fill up one of these 10-gallon totes that I have here with enough material for one. That's kind of expensive when you talk about like replacing it, consistently. So as you can see, this one, as I said, it's from Walmart. Does say 100% coconut coir here. I've read online that this one doesn't have as much sodium or salt content, which is better for your worms, and that's part of the reason why I bought these, and they were also on sale, and I can buy them at the local store, which makes it easy. Now the last bedding material I have here, and this one I'm actually using in a bin. Let me see if I can grab these here without making a huge mess. Oh, well, some of them fell. And that are wood pellets. So these, you get wet, they expand and they expand, and they really wick water away. So these might be good in a bin if you don't have, as an example here on my tote that you see right down here, you can see the holes I have on the sides, but there's no holes in the bottom. And these would be good to throw in a bin like that because it sort of wicks the water upwards and it'll slowly get to the surface and actually evaporate. So it works really well for wet bins, and it's a good way to try and contain the moisture in your bin, like add aeration, because it's going to bring the moisture up and it's going to keep it towards the top so it can evaporate instead of having it contained in the bottom, I should say. So these work really well, and so far the bin I have seems to be functioning just fine without the cardboard. These are about $7 for a big bag of them. That will take you a long time to go through. So that actually is probably a better deal than the coconut coir. As far as it breaking down, it seems to, but it's taken a long time to get to that point in my bin, and it still is very airy and easy to maneuver through. So if you watch my videos on that, which you can see a link at the top here, you can watch the videos on how well this works, or the playlist, and it'll show you the steps that it took and how those are working out. So I don't have any with this coconut coir. I might start a bin up just to try it out. I've never actually used it before in a bin. I typically use this for mixing with potting soil, actually, or as a potting soil. I mix this with my vermicompost when I do my gardens. So that is what I have for bedding material. Now, let's take a look at all of the things you have for food inputs. All right, so here are some of the foods. And I store all my foods in containers like this. These go in the freezer. I do run all of my food through the freezer essentially. And the reason for that is, one, it kills off anything that might be on them as far as bugs. And two, I get more food than I can actually process at a time, and this kind of lets me build up an amount, and then I can chop it down and then throw it in the bins. Now, a lot of my stuff looks like this banana peel, thaws very quickly. These actually break down pretty quickly, except for these little stems on the end. They take a while to break down. Or it's cut up like, this is just the peelings from carrots, maybe a couple carrot ends, some celery. I go through a lot of carrots in my house, so this is what a lot of my food looks like. It really doesn't need to be broken down any more than this. Now, this is what I want to show you. This is an apple. It is frozen right now, but it was bad. When we opened the batch, this was already rotten on the inside, and it just came right down here. This is something that I will need to break up before I actually put it into a bin. It's just, this will take forever to break down if I throw it in whole. The skin is meant to prevent things from getting in. The inside will start rotting out, and it'll just take a long time to break down. So I will have to break this down. Now, breaking down your food, I think freezing it first off is a good step towards breaking it down. It just helps a lot with the decomposition. It breaks all the cell walls because all the water in here is just smashes through them. So it breaks down a lot faster when you freeze it. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. It might not matter a whole lot, but I have found that frozen foods tend to break down quicker. And then the more you mash them up, the faster they break down. So to break up those foods, one of the first things many people use right here is just your standard blender. This is an Oster. This is a nice, instead of glass, it's a nice plastic base. It's Triton, I think it is the material. The thing is when you blend, you have to add water. So, you throw in, you fill this thing up, and then you fill it up halfway with water, and then you can blend it all, and then you have this mix of really liquidy stuff that you can throw into your bin. It's great if you don't put water in, or if you don't have any water issues, but if you do, this doesn't work very well. You're adding a lot of moisture to your bins, and you might not need all that moisture, and then you got to find a way to get rid of it if you don't have holes in the bottom for it to drain out through. So I'm not as big a fan of the blender, as I could be, but I don't really use this very often unless I find that the bins are dry, and then I will use this to add some water. The way that if I need to break something up, what I will typically do is use this right here. This is a food processor. So I bought this used from Goodwill for, I think, is the price still on here? Yep, right over here, $15 for this thing used. So it's just a cheap food processor. I can throw food in it, grind it all up as small as it'll go, and then I just take this lid off right here, just twist it off, and I dump it right in the bin. You do have to be careful. This part right here will pop off, but that's what I do with these. I've just found this to be a lot easier to use. I can keep it down here, just rinse it out, and it just doesn't matter compared to my blender, which is what I use upstairs. Now, there is one other thing that I have not tried yet, but I do have here. And actually, I'm going to bring it up here. So this is a bucket. I have in here a piece of, just show you here. So this is a thick piece of plastic. This is from a cutting board, an old cutting board that I have. I had that in the bottom. And then I'd put my food, let me show you in here. I'd put all my food in here. And what I would do is use this right here. And I will have a video of this at some point. This is a scraper. And I have to keep the plastic on it to make sure I don't damage anything with it. But this is a big, long scraper. So, and you use this and you jam it into the bottom of the bucket. And this edge right here will cut right through what you put in there. And I got that idea from, I think it's Mark at Eve Growing. And he had that idea, and I've taken it, and I'm going to use it myself and try it out. I think he was just using a hoe that looks like it was straight. This is a lot, I think, more solid. I mean, this is meant for scraping, concrete, driveways with ice and things like that, which I also will probably use it for at some point. But this is what I bought from, I think, Home Depot or something like that to try this with. And that is another way to just kind of break up some of these really big things. So if you're getting material from a store and it's just these huge pieces that are rotten or something like that, this might be a way to break it up without breaking your bank. I mean, I think this was $20. You're talking a used cutting board, which you probably have one in your house that you've been meaning to get rid of, like I did. And that's, kind of free. And then a bucket for $3, and you've got yourself a way to really smash apart some really big things, like if you had a watermelon that was rotten or something like that. So these are just some ideas. The other thing that people have mentioned, although I don't use it, is a garbage disposal. So I don't have one of those as an example, but it'd be the exact same thing as this, you know, except for the fact it'd be a hole in the top. You'd put your food in, it would go through the garbage disposal, you put a little bit of water in it, it would come out through the bottom and into a bucket. Again, though, you're getting a lot of water with that. So, but those are some of the ways you can break down your food. I do find that food, when it's broken down in like this, goes a lot faster. The worms will consume it much quicker. It's much more broken down. There's more surface area for the microbes to work and the worms to get to. So that is some of the ways you can take care of your bedding and your food. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.